Welcome to the Dope and Tape Show, everybody. What are you doing? Hey, thank you so much for joining us on a Tuesday. Tonight is going to be a fire pump night. So I know everybody's kind of getting in here, but get your pencils or pens, if you prefer pens, and some paper. And we're going to take some notes. We're going to ask some questions, and it's a great time. So we have Wheels Lacrosse. We have Lund Fire Protection. We have Kevin from American Fire Pump. I mean, we have as much knowledge and experience and things that people seen to ask any question in the entire world. And I would imagine some of these questions are going to be like, wait, what? What was that? I got to back it up. Like, for example, I called, what was his name? It's really worth me shouting him out. I called Jonathan Carl. I don't know if y'all know him, but he's with Victaulic. He is like, I would say, the leader of experience and knowledge and pressure reducing valves. And I was writing things down like a wild man. I was like, wait, what did you say? Wait, hold on. What was that? And you heard me, right? Like you saw me. I was like all over the place. Like, wait, hold on.
Tommy
Like
Howd.
if Landon got close to me, huh?
I think Tommy's got the first comment every night.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I love Tommy. So if Landon got close to me, I would probably be writing on his face. Like I was taking so many notes, man. I was like, wait, hold on, wait, what? In FBA 14, you're gonna change some code? When does that happen? It's like, oh my god, like information overload. It was crazy. It was so much fun.
Thank you for joining us. As you trickle in, please hit the like button. We're gonna talk fire pumps. If you got some questions, send them. We'll answer them.
Hey, Bobby, you got good lighting. Did you get like a clip on?
No, I always carry my light. This is just like, is no light here. I usually just don't use it. Is it too bright?
Well, no, I think it looks great.
I wanted
to
accentuate the pink, you know?
I love the shirt, man.
It's comfy.
I'm with it. I'm a big fan of like pink
one.
out there, you know?
I think he's got a flag on the back.
Does it? Oh, yeah. No,
Huh?
that's dope. Freaking Becky with the apparel. Killing it.
Swag. Good day, Wayne. Thank you for joining us. How am I looking at comments here? I flipped my. Oh, Chris is here. Chris Dilday. What's up,
Chris?
SPP for life.
Diddly.
If you're not,
right? Is that what you just said?
Dilday.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Diddly. Good day, gentlemen. From Wayne. Thank you for joining us. Happy to be here. Let's start off with some questions. What do you guys got? 3 minutes in.
All right, let's say I flow a fire pump, right? So let's just say it's a 1500 GPM diesel pump. I'm flowing open atmosphere, like that even matters. And I get my 100%, I get my 250. I'm packing up, but the coolant line keeps running, and I cannot get the solenoid to stop. Like it's just latching, and I cannot reset it. What do I do? Let's say, I don't know, whatever engine. Like, what are some of the things that I could do to kind of get that cooling line to stop flowing and the solenoid to stop latching? I want to get it back to normal. I want to get out of there. I want to pack up. I want to go home.
Hammer. No, I'm just kidding. Let one of the fire pump guys answer.
Check to see if you got the fire pump controller in the right setting. If you have it in manual, it's going to always run. It's opening the solenoid.
Well, I mean, I would never, if I was doing inspections, I would keep it always on automatic. Even if I'm like testing the batteries on the different, on the different starts when I start it. Like before I do my churn, I test each battery on the little switches. Get the crank, stop it, and then I do my flows. But yeah, like at the end of the flow, if that fire pump, that diesel engine keeps on running, I'm like, what's going on here, you know?
All right. Now, Brian, you have to remember that if it was a newer engine, Clark has changed their timer settings on their solenoid. So when it stops, sometimes that solenoid will run for, I think that's set for like 90 seconds, maybe even 120 seconds, where it'll continue to run. Scares you half to death because you're thinking, hey, it's off. So what in the world is that water still running for? But if you just sit there and wait, it'll turn itself off. Now, if it doesn't, if it doesn't, you can actually add some back pressure to it. So turn off that last valve after the solenoid, And if you do that, then there's a good chance that it'll get a little bit of back pressure and it should get a signal to stop.
See, I was always worried that if I turned the valve and I stopped that water, then like that. Well, this scenario happened. This is probably my first diesel pump that I
Okay.
ever did by myself, and I was like freaking out. I was like, I didn't want to mess something up, like
Yeah.
overheat
No.
an engine or anything like that. So I
No.
was
No.
scared to close a valve.
Okay.
And you're talking about like there's like a little ball valve or a gate valve that's after the solenoid.
And there's an isolation valve at the downstream side of the solenoid valve. Now you have to remember that those solenoids typically like to see 5 psi back pressure. So if it's a solenoid issue, you can give it some back pressure and it should stop. But was the one that you were at? Was it a Clark? Was it a Clark product?
It was a John Deere.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a Clark product, and I have a feeling that you encountered the same thing I did first time with those timers that they set continues to run it. And what they're trying to accommodate for is heat soaking. So if you turn off one of those engines, they were having problems with the cooling water would stop, and then it would heat soak and then set off the temperature alarm on it. So they said, well, shoot, how do we do that? And they said, let's put a timer in the circuit to run the solenoid, hold the solenoid in for a couple of minutes to let that engine cool off at the top to run the solenoid circulation. So I have a feeling you probably had a new one and it had that timer in it. And yeah, it would scare you half to death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris is tuning in from the campsite. Thank you, Chris. I wanna be at the campsite. That's where I want to go next.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
George, thank you for joining us. There's Chad. Round of applause for Chad. Thank you for joining us, Chad.
That's awesome.
Wills and Big Kev are the shit. What about Ian and Brian, Chris? Prick?
Not yet.
Al says, is anyone having issues with the test header valves being stolen more than usual? 2 different jobs downtown Atlanta this month alone. One was next to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I thought of Brian.
Never been there.
Man,
I've had them stolen.
Yeah, well, welcome to Atlanta.
I can't believe you just made me read. I just had to say Mercedes-Benz Stadium out loud on the show.
Yeah.
My gosh, what is this coming to?
The back when I was at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you know.
No, don't be even. We're gonna lose subscribers. I see Billy in New Jersey, like screwing them on. He's like screwing them on and then like grinding the head off. And I don't know whether it's gonna leak or what. I mean, it's stopping them from unscrewing it. It's
I mean, what if you put some like load up on some dope?
I've done Loctite.
Dope tape dope on that, you know?
I mean, I don't know. If you're a good thief, you're just gonna show up with a cordless sawzall and a fucking battery and just cut the nipple off at the thread, right?
Yeah.
Have
They
fun.
did that
Put
at,
on whatever dope you want, kid.
Yeah.
I seen that at an
Zoop, zoop, zoop,
FTC.
zoop, zoop. Cut off, you know,
down in
1 minute. You have
FTC
them all.
in New Haven,
Yeah.
Connecticut. They just saws all the FTC flush with the wall, took all the brass.
Boom.
Whoa, flush.
No, yeah.
Man. And then
Crackheads
what?
are
I've seen that
That's a
happen in
service
Staten
call.
Island.
Can we make them out of something else other than brass?
No.
Why?
No.
You do flush
you
mounted.
could. Well, you definitely could, but you'd have to get factory mutual approval or Underwriters Laboratory. So that would be tough. Typically, down in the Atlanta area, when we see that, you're basically in what I call chicken bone country. You know what chicken bone country is? That's
What's
when
that?
you look down within, say, about a 9-foot square area, you'll find chicken bones. And when you find chicken bones, you're in chicken bone country. You don't want to be in chicken bone country.
What? I still don't get it. Oh, yeah.
When you're in chicken bone country, brass gets
Chicken bone
stolen, okay?
Yeah. Brass is stolen in chicken bone country.
It happens up here in New York too.
Yeah.
Bronx,
Well,
Staten Island, Manhattan.
I have
Yeah.
customers
Well,
that
I'm coming.
remove the brass hose valves on the outside each year after the test.
Yeah,
Yep,
I mean,
done that too.
if you're in chicken bone country, that's what you do. You just adapt to the area.
Chicken bone country. That's not gonna.
Wow.
That's not gonna go away now. Chicken bone country. I like
Another
that.
situation I had another, I want to say it was a 2000 GPM pump. I don't think it matters, but it was attached to a diesel pump. It was at a factory. It failed with this previous company that was doing the fire pump inspection, and they couldn't get the 100%. Like it wouldn't reach it. So they called us at the company that I was at the time, and they sent me out there, and I went out there and started doing some investigations. and the sensing lines were clogged. I took out plugs. I isolated the valves. I took all the water out. I had to get long rods and stick it in and then blow out with like a main drain, the sensing lines, all the dirt and crud in there. And I did not take the head off. I didn't take the pump apart or anything like that. But I did. I flushed it for a very long time and just kind of really put my screwdriver in there and some thin rod and tried to clean it as much as I could. And I got it to 100%. I couldn't get it to 150. At that point, would you suggest? I mean, obviously it's super dirty water. Would you suggest just kind of rebuilding the pump, or I mean, do you think there's just too much crud for that propeller to move properly?
Now, if you think about it, Brian, when you said you put your screwdriver in there, were you doing the gauge ports there at the suction discharge area, the flanges? Did you try that?
I took the three-way apart. I got as close as I could to it.
This is where you have the gauges at.
Right, and the gauges were filled.
Okay, good.
And I don't think the previous company kind of went that far. I did as much as I could. Sensing lines, gauge lines, I mean everything. I tried to clean it as much as I could.
Yeah, okay. All right. So basically when you're flowing the pump or you're doing the flow test, the sensing lines really don't have anything to do with it as far as that goes. But the fact that you had a lot of dirt in it, in the Atlanta area, we have a lot of corrosion buildup. I call them nodule formations. And what I found is if they're not testing their pump on a regular basis, the nodule formations will form in the discharge volute area where it's, it generates all its pressure. And those are the areas, if you have a lot of corrosion buildup, that's where you can fail a pump. But typically, it might be in your gauges. If I test one and I fail it, I normally test it again because I figure it's me, that I made a mistake in taking the readings. Now, when you take it apart, there's nothing hard about popping the top and doing an internal inspection. And that's really when you see if there's any internal damage. And I would say, you're looking for rocks. If you start off following the nameplate numbers, in other words, at zero flow, you're right on the number that they have at the nameplate. And then as you flow water, then it starts dropping and it gets wider and wider away from where it should be. Then generally it's an obstruction in the impeller. But if you start and you're low at the 0 GPM point, then you can just well assure that it's your gauges or something that's interfering with you getting a good gauge rating on your suction discharge. But actually, you did, you did something really good in that you check your gauge ports. The gauge ports in our area, in the Atlanta area, they can clog up, and you will not get any pressure reading. You won't get anything, worthy of it, and you'll fail it. So that's one of your first checks is check your gauge ports. Now, with the
equipment's calibrated.
Yeah, that goes back to your gauges, and as far as that goes. So
now, when y'all show up but y'all drive very far for an acceptance test for a pump. What are some of your pet peeves when you show up?
Yeah, peeves. I want to talk about pet peeves.
And you walk in and you see something, you're like,
pay attention.
Not a freaking gin,
Yeah, we did. If we're talking about commissioning, I did one last week. I walked in and said, take the conduit boxes off the motor, find the electrician. And I got the electrician in front and I said, hey, come on over, look at this. I want you to check your wiring connections. And he forgot to wire the pump. There weren't any wires going to it.
Oh,
and
that's a big one.
I forgot to give.
Was it last week that I seen Justin showed up somewhere and it was just completely not ready, and then Kev an hour later posted showed up somewhere completely not ready. Like, who the hell's calling out the pump commissioning guys and they're not ready?
Happens more often than you think.
What the?
I have to drive. Rush? Yeah, I have to drive 3 hours tomorrow morning, leaving at 5:30 to get down there to retest it. They say they're ready now. So okay. Yeah, so 3 hours. You
got to be reluctant. Like, are you sure? Do you tell them send you can you send me a video? Can you send me a photo?
As long as they pay me, I don't mind. By the way, Chris, it was if you're still watching, it was a SPP unit, and but it wasn't the pump's fault, but it was definitely the electrician's fault.
Chris is awesome. Pumps on
Yeah.
Alfred. Yeah, I like that. When you show up and it's just sitting on rods that aren't even the right size.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Or the
what's
generator's not ready for backup. Yep.
well, what's funny with me is I went down there and I asked him to pull the pecker head off before and I didn't even notice that there weren't any wires going to it. So I was just as bad as they were. That was dumb.
The
Yeah.
pre-startup checklist. Like, just come on. Like,
Yeah.
make sure
So
you're good to go. Those guys are coming
Yeah.
out there. They don't waste
Is
their
there
time.
information that you can like pull to get a pre startup checklist?
There are startup checklists. The Patterson guy here in Georgia has a great one. I mean, he has like a little book that he gives people, and he says, if it's not ready, we're charging, and you better check this off and send it back and sign it because I don't want to come out here more than once.
More than
And
once,
I
Yep.
said,
yeah.
hey, I said, hey, why don't you give me that list? That's a pretty good list. He said, no, it's secret. I go,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a secret. In my experience, they kind of just put a lot of trust on you when you call them. And
Yeah,
the generators were not ready, and it was the GC's fault. So the GC just paid for that second trip, but we still
yeah,
kept that initial trip to keep the
yeah,
schedule because I had to get my commissioning done so I could run that baby.
yeah, I know.
I
You
try
know,
to do a FaceTime with somebody, especially if it's a far away, like Buffalo, New York. It's about a 6.5 hour drive. So anything up there, I'll do a FaceTime the day before.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that's
and make them
that's
walk you around and see if you see any
Yeah. Oh
flaws.
yeah.
Oh,
good.
good for
Yep.
Yeah,
you. That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
send photos or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Sometimes
That
it's
is good. Saves you a lot of time.
Yeah.
Now, we talk a lot about innovation here on Dope and Tape. I mean, we really want to show the innovation in the industry, and something that SPP Pump is doing is they're adding QR codes, like metal QR codes, to the pump, the actual pump, and then you can get people can upload the initial testing to that, and then in the future, or if now, they can each inspection upload they can upload that, and then you can see the last three, the initial,
The next guy
the
can always see the
acceptance.
previous, and it has all the original info on it. All the info that you would need about that pump is also
I would love
located
to
on
see
that
that in
QR
the
code.
future on like on valves, on Victaulic, Reliable, Tyco,
Boom, QR code on a dry valve. It
Viking.
shows you how to reset it, shows you all about it, how to
Yeah, because
repair it, how to maintain it.
you're supposed to keep, like, if tags, like, you're in the NFPA 25, you reference a tag, and you're supposed to reference the last two, as well as the acceptance, which the acceptance is never there. So I think it's great for the pump, and I hope it continues on the industry
Shout out to
throughout.
Chris. Shout out to
so
Chris for the innovation.
the problem with that is that generally you release results upon payment sometimes, and I mean that's where you have to tie it to. So I mean,
Oh,
even
right.
from the testing standpoint, on just annual testing, okay, that's how you get your money's worth it. So sometimes you can't go there and upload it again too. And it's really on the onus of the owner to be responsible, in my opinion, for maintaining those records, even
That's a
though
good
I would
point.
love to have something like that. But
That's a good point, because
Because you're
like
not
that
just going to
return
upload all your
trip.
info. You're not going to
No,
upload
correct.
all your info without your payment,
I
obviously,
mean,
and then you're not going to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
back out there just to go and
just to do that.
Like,
upload.
Yeah.
let's talk about like labor wise. I mean, that's usually like a 110 truck charge, and then you got, I mean, no company nationwide is gonna send a tech out there less than 2 hours. So you're talking about a $400 trip charge to upload a report after payment. I
Yeah.
think that's a
So
good point.
it's not something that I would go do personally. I mean, I'd give it to the end user responsibility if they want to do that. But also then they might not want everybody to have that information. Say insurance guy comes in and scans it. I mean, sees a failed report for whatever reason. I mean, I'm just playing the customer side.
No, those
Yeah,
are
I
good
mean,
points. Those are points I haven't even thought
I
about.
like to hear them all.
yeah,
That's great, bringing that point up. I
yeah,
like the way you're thinking. The chat's firing off. Should I read some stuff?
yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
This is a long sleeve. Daryl, thank you. The pre-startup checklist. Chris Dilday, we have the best pre-startup checklist. Tommy Howard, that's gains to SPP. Occupants never have past reports. Shout out Buffalo, New York. Corlin, thank you for joining us. Is that funny? Chris says we have the best pre-start checklist. Has anybody
Yeah,
seen
Third
it?
list.
I want to see it.
SPP is pretty good. It is
Yeah.
a pretty good.
Al
Yeah.
says he's seen a few drive valves with QR codes. Oh, Daryl is trying to reschedule again. Al, I believe I have a little SPP book with a pre-start checklist. Carlos, thank you for joining us, brother. Here's Chad. Get your pads and pens out, guys. Wills knows his stuff. Ask him anything about pumps. He's a great resource to have. That is very true. Will, we really appreciate you coming on, along with Ian and Kevin, but definitely Will.
It's okay. He's been doing it a lot longer than I have.
Yeah.
Just
Checklist
the
with the
throw-ins
ability
at
to
the
upload
end.
pictures. Is that Will? He is a pump guru. What up, Dope and Tape? That's Mike Watts. That's Will. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you, thank you. Boom. I don't know. Let's talk like some crazy stuff. Let's what's like the craziest thing you've seen? You walked into, what happened? 8-inch elbow blew apart. Tell me something crazy.
Hey, how about one just ran into last week?
Okay.
The 2500, 125 PSI tank fed. They ran the tank dry and cooked the fire pump. And so they had me go in there to replace the packing and the bearing. And sure enough, I turned on the pump, and within, I would say, less than 15 to 20 seconds, there's smoke coming. Steam is coming from the bearing, and there weren't any balls left. They were all chewed in half, and we went ahead and replaced the bearing and opened up the pump, and the rings were completely destroyed. So we pulled out the pieces of bronze and then put it back in service and said, well, you got to buy a new pump. So Chris,
Yeah.
I need a good price on 2500 and 125.
Get them. It's I'm pretty sure it's in stock. Your pumps are ready. Pumps are
They
ready.
Just sitting
are.
there waiting.
Yeah, they should be at
Huh?
SPP.
It's got to be
You're
one
right.
there. We can just dust off and
Yeah.
send it out to Will. What do you think, Chris? You make that happen tomorrow? Or he's at the
I would
campsite?
say that SPP has the most in stock pumps of any company nationwide.
I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I mean, I love SPP, but I did see another company that has surprisingly in a real lot of fire pumps. I mean, the
Ooh.
warehouse
Is this in Chicago?
no, this is in Georgia.
Oh, it's in Georgia. I know there's a spot up in
Uh,
Chicago that makes a lot of pumps.
I think Kevin's wearing their shirt. All right.
Up in the Kula.
He got some swag up there.
Chris, they saw you walk in. He was like, "Hey, we gotta give you a hoodie here."
A hoodie right away.
Oh, that's
Usually give you a
great.
trucker hat too.
I don't know.
Over
I don't know.
Fill out
Patterson.
the survey form.
They don't have a dope and tape flag up there. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Chris. Chris, buddy, old friend. So
Please listen up.
the flag. We left you the nice dope and tape flag, like this one for your shop. But I hung it there with my $50 level that I'd like back.
Yeah, and then Bobby took mine out of my bag and
I grabbed
used mine
I grabbed
too.
my 9-inch torpedo with the earth magnets, and I grabbed Brian's, and I hung the flag on the conduit. And I don't know if it's still there, but yeah, think I get my level back, dog?
I think it's now an SPP piece of property.
Shit.
You can get it with your next pump.
I got home and I was like, oh man, I forgot
favorite.
I forgot my level. And then I was like, oh wait, I forgot Brian's level there too. My bad, bro. Dope and tape for life, Chris says. I got you, Wills. It's in stock.
Yeah.
Chris says, what the fuck, Kev?
Oh yeah, no, he's talking about Ready Buffalo.
Oh,
No,
not ready,
Oh,
Kev? What the?
oh,
Oh.
Hey, he's my buddy.
So,
I haven't heard that. in a
Oh, Dr.
while.
Reddy.
Not many of them
Dr.
up
Reddy's
here.
getting ragged on.
Got you, bro.
I do have a question. So, Lon, how long have you been in business?
Since 1958.
Wow,
goodness.
58.
Yeah,
And
58.
Kev, you're recently pretty new, correct?
Year and a month.
Year and a month.
And
And
he
then
checked he checked his
and
watch.
the Wills, do you even remember when you started?
Yeah, 1975. Yeah,
1975.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I bring that up because my son's here with me. He wants to get in the fire protection industry. He's not really sure which way he wants to go. He's a lot like Wills. He wants to go to Georgia Tech in his engineering degree. So how's the pump life? I mean, y'all been doing it for a long time. and then Kevin, he kind of just started. So what do y'all think about that?
Just Kevin, why don't you tell a little bit of your story because you're coming off like a rocket.
So
Oh, you are.
yeah, I started off. I worked for a sprinkler contractor for 12 years. A couple different companies over 12 years. Worked with fire pumps a little bit. I was always curious about it, and I had a lot of like old school fitters that like just didn't really want to touch pumps. I'd ask questions, they'd be like, I don't know, we don't touch that. Just kind of leave it alone. I always thought that was odd. To me, fire pumps, they're not that complicated. So I took a few classes over the years, and one of them was Fire Tech Productions, where I had Wills as the instructor, and I was talking with him, and I was like, I want to start a business just working on fire pumps because I could see there's a market for it. So after talking with Wills, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. I've been wanting to do it for a while, and I said, screw it, just take the jump and see what happens, and best decision I ever made.
How do you do that with customers? Since you're only specifying, working on only fire pumps.
So customers are mainly sprinkler contractors. I do some property management companies, and then some people direct. But I do a lot of work for like sprinkler contractors.
They're subbing you
It's
out
a
because
lot,
they don't want to touch the pump, right?
right?
Because there's so
There's
much
a lot.
liability.
So
They want a
me
specialist.
yeah, I mean me and Chad, we went to go talk to a large property. I mean, we're talking about I think it was like 16, 18 buildings and bidding. Unfortunately, bidding ended 2 weeks ago, and then the guy was like, "Oh man, I really wish you guys were here earlier. We would love to use you." But they were like, "So do you work on pumps?" I was like, "Yeah, we work on pumps. What do you? I mean, whatever you need. We need replacements. You need it fixed. You need it, checked out. Like, what's going on? Like, we work on pumps." And he was like, "Wow, okay, I might call you because the contract that they use, they sub it. Same thing."
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now,
Yeah, it's not common for many sprinkler contractors to work on pumps. I'm an abnormal person, but we're a specialty house, so it was right up our
You guys
alley.
kind of
Like
do
I'm not building high
everything.
rises.
You do everything,
What?
right?
Yeah, but we're parts and smarts, and then we pick and choose our jobs accordingly. Like I won't build a high rise, but I'll troubleshoot high rises.
Okay.
We're what we call system guys, is what I say. So we'll use it on anything from pumps to foam systems to special hazards. Stuff to that regard.
Cool.
You
So you
um,
like
you see a
the
lot of
you
cool
like
pumps out there, like old ones, right?
Yeah. So I still work on old LaCourtney pumps. Sundew
wow.
controllers are still out there.
Most
Probably the
people's never
craziest thing I
seen one of
saw was a
those.
Sundew
I,
controller
I
when
think
I
we were
was.
talking about a steam pump, or maybe you even sent me a photo of
I've
a
Yeah,
never
steam
seen a
pump.
steam pump in my life.
there's two steam pumps that I know of. One's still active that's getting pulled out still. I'm working with them to pull that out so that hopefully it goes somewhere to be saved.
Do you
And then
have
the other
somewhere you can
one
send
is,
it? Because I'll help you.
I wish
yeah,
it was in a. Oh
I'll,
yeah,
s- I'm sending it
Wells
to,
is
might be
like,
going to
yeah,
my
I'm
my
shop
sending it to,
barn.
first
I'm
before
sending it to
anywhere.
SPP.
Yeah,
Send it right now, kid, huh? Hey, Chris,
yeah,
I'm sending you. I got a package.
You're
Send
just
me my
trying to get a
level.
delivery. We're
gonna
gonna
be
have
a
to
big
park it out
package down
front.
there. Yeah, no, that was probably the steam pump was a cool one. And then we have a bunch of manual fire pumps, which is no longer required in new building code, but they're like high pressure, stage, manual controllers up to anywhere from 1 to 9 speeds, stepping up on the
And
controller.
what? Someone's supposed to
And
be in
then,
there shifting it.
yep.
So
So it's
in an
generally meant for
emergency
building
during a
engineers.
fire, someone has to report to that.
Yeah, but it's generally for the building next door. So you think about they're shooting across if they need to.
Oh, I gotcha.
They do use it in house, but the way the code was originally written in 38 and 68 and everything, it was you had to have one. If you had owned two buildings, you only had to have one of them if there was in the a lot of weird gray area. But
Huh.
it's generally for next door, and they range from anywhere from 100 horsepower all the way up to 300 horsepower. Big motors, fun motors, scary pressures.
SPP
I've had a
invented the
couple.
original steam fire pump. Really? And he says Sigmund pulsometer
Awesome.
pumps.
Yeah.
That's SPP? Look at you go, huh?
Well, I didn't
That's
You
know that.
are
great.
smart.
Was that
So
Chris?
something
That's
that I'm sure
Chris.
you guys
Yeah. I
are
guess I
seeing a
gotta
lot
send it
of.
down to him if I get it.
I think a lot of people are starting to use turbines. Are y'all seeing more turbines?
Not and then yeah, go on, Kev.
Yeah, I'm seeing quite a few turbines lately.
Same. I mean, my last little stint in the field, that's what they're putting in Boston, especially like in the hospitals. And I don't know what the logistics is to it, but they're going in, and
I'm seeing
they
them
weren't before.
Are we
in
talking
flood
about vertical
zones
turbines or
sometimes.
what?
Yeah,
What kind of turbines are we talking
Yeah.
about?
yeah, vertical.
Vertical turbine.
Are you put them in a can or do you have a pit?
Yeah, there's a big tank under them,
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Is this indoors or outdoors?
indoor.
Indoor. Okay,
I
First
think
like
most
floor,
in
of
the
them that
first
I've
floor of
heard
the
of are
hospital.
indoor.
Got a 150,000 gallon, the primary tank, and then it's connected by like a 12-inch piece, and then it goes into like the suction pit, I think they called it.
Mhm.
So
yeah.
it's
Okay,
basically
good.
one tank the way that it's designed, but it's two tanks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, overseas in places like Dubai and stuff, that's essentially what they do. They put a big reservoir underneath the building, and then they squeeze that vertical turbine pump somehow in the equipment room and tip it into the hole, and that's what they're using as their fire pump for most of their high-rise buildings.
I had the fellows from
And
Stearns come out, and it was a Patterson pump, and we couldn't put it in one piece. We had to build it as we went,
yeah,
and
yeah,
That's what I just did on one pump going in. I just
drop it
did a
in.
replacement.
It
Yeah,
was
I
a it
built
was
it
a
with the
what you
crane
had two
going down.
two chain falls.
We used a crane.
yeah,
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, we had two
yep,
chain
got
falls,
lucky.
two three-quarter shields with
Yep,
three-quarter eye bolts, and
yep,
you got to do the. It was a day. It took a whole day.
yeah.
yeah,
It's not fun. And
yeah.
how about it? How
Long
about if
day.
you're a little bit? How about if you're a little bit low at 100% on one of those? It's not easy to take it apart and check out the impeller, is it?
No.
Check
Yeah,
see if
that's
there's
not fun.
mods or anything. No,
No.
the vertical turbines. I would hope that that's not a coming thing because it's to me it's not a good solution. If
I
I
have
was
some
there,
equipment
I,
that we investigate. We use some cameras and put them down in a little submarine to go take a look
Submarine,
at
yeah.
tanks and
yeah, yeah,
everything. And at least it gives us as a serviceability
That's
before
Logo out in
going
Hawaii.
and all that other work.
He's the only
Hopefully,
inspector that I see with the like the remote controlled submarine. He's going down in the tanks. They use a lot of tanks in Hawaii, and
yeah. I
that
got
thing is a
something similar to that, and then I got vibration analysis equipment. Just it's expensive stuff, but you're just
yeah.
trying to do as much as you can before you open up the other stuff.
that's pretty cool
So
though. Driving out,
Mm.
some of them don't want
What
you to
about
open
like
up pumps.
rebuilding one of those or servicing it? Like,
You have to take them apart.
you
You
have
have
to
to
pull it all
get that
out.
clean.
Yeah,
That's a
Yeah.
long
yeah.
day. Like just I mean, and like the
It-
final part, and this was I only had done this once, but the final part we put all the ball bearings at the top,
mhm.
Oh, and you set the depth.
and we had to and set it, and it was I mean they were gentlemen. They obviously knew exactly what they were doing. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Oh, those guys at Stearns are awesome.
Yeah, they were
Mhm.
great. They were
but
great.
see, that's also something that's not being taught.
Yeah,
Like
and I
it's
mean I
not.
took pictures of it, and I was there watching it. It's like I still I don't know if I could do it alone right now, even being there once, you know.
Read
That's
the
that was
installation manual.
huh?
Read the installation manuals on them. It does
Yeah,
give a lot of information. Most people don't read that stuff. They
yeah,
just throw it out.
it's true. Or
That's the best thing
they
for
take it
it.
and hide it. They don't leave it for the owner.
No, or they just even the contractor installing them, they don't look at them. They'll just wing it. Sometimes I've seen, and then read those manuals. It's got a lot of information on how to do it,
I,
and most people unfortunately don't. And they try to look at stuff on videos, which is a different way of learning as well too. But those manuals have a lot of information in them
I think
that
it's awesome that Brian's son wants to be a sprinkler fitter. That's from Daryl.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
I think
spelt
it's
your name
cool.
Brain. It's all right.
It's all right. That's how you do it when you're a
Mike
kid.
Mike Watts. It's in the lobby at SPP. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, go for it, buddy.
Oh, one of the steam pumps?
It should have a picture of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turbines are
it's
being
on the
used for
screen.
emergency water in Atlanta. Is anyone putting in multi-port, multi-stage pumps? Well, I know a guy that's got one in stock, and I got a video of
Yeah,
it
we
if you
saw
want to
it.
see it.
That thing was
Multi-stage,
crazy.
multi-port. It's our buddy Chris over at SPP Pumps.
And there's lots of turbines in there. Like you can just stack them as long as you want.
Ours is available later this year. What would everyone's suggestion be for pump training? It's easy to find pump test training, but are there any good repair/service classes?
Fire Tech Masterclass,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
the best.
Yeah.
Will's, you do one here in Atlanta, and I think
Yeah.
there's another masterclass in.
I think it's
Geez,
in
I don't want to be
Indiana.
wrong. I think it's in Ohio.
No,
I
no,
think
it's over in
it's
Indianapolis, over there near
Indianapolis. Then
Paris.
and it's a woman. She's
Yeah, Nicole. And she's
yeah.
good. Yeah,
I
she's
heard
really
that
Did the
she's
Peerless
like
one maybe
she
over
really
10,
knows her
12
stuff.
years ago.
And how do you sign? Do you know how to sign up for that class, Bry?
Through Fire Tech.
Fire
You just
Tech?
go in there, you Google it, and you can sign up. I mean, it's that easy.
Boom! It's that easy. If Brian, oh, we have another brain comment. Brain, if your son really wants to go to a 4-year college, for sure, go to the mechanical engineering route. I enjoyed the classes, but I feel like I really didn't need the degree. We should start calling you. I like that. We should
I'm
start
gonna
calling you
need
Brain.
Hey, Brian. Don't get started, son. You're too close.
Don't get started. Son. That's the first thing he said.
These guys are on the
he's
internet,
busting your
okay?
balls.
You're not.
He's
all right?
busting. That's great. Oh, that's good. Oh, Nicole is amazing.
Yeah.
Engineering's fun.
That's from
That's
Chris.
what
No,
Bearing
actually,
was gonna be.
as far as training goes, Kevin's just experienced several of the training classes. He was at the SPP one
Yep.
just
And
recently, and most of the pump people, they'll do their own training. I don't know how much selling they do. How much selling do they do up at Patterson? Kevin, was it all information or was it a lot of sales?
there wasn't much sales. They do like, these are different pumps that we offer. But they did a lot of information in the
Mhm.
course there. They go through like a quick breakdown of a inline vertical VIP and then a horizontal split case.
How about Peerless? So, didn't you also do some training with Peerless?
Yeah, so that one it was the same thing. They did training through with their version of the VIPs, which I'm not the biggest fan of their particular VIP design.
Okay.
But we have that one and then a horizontal split case, and then they did a little turbine demonstration for their turbines.
Yeah.
So
Very good. All right, now of the three that you've been to SPP, you've been to Patterson, and Peerless. Chris is listening, so you better say SPP.
Yeah, but he's wearing a Patterson shirt. So
No, that's because he's waiting on the swag to come in from Chris.
Pinky
That's
in the
right.
brain.
Let's get it together, man.
Yeah,
I did get me a hat, a Patterson hat, but I mean not a Patterson SPP pump hat, but it was actually Chris's. He didn't give it to me. I just grabbed it, but I got one.
yeah.
I would
that
say
worked, right?
Pinky
I would
in
say
the
out of
brain.
all of them,
Mike Watts says pinky in the brain.
I'd say out of all the classes, you
That's
learn a
good.
little bit of different stuff from every one of the different classes. Like everybody has their own way of
That's
teaching,
good,
so you'll
Mike.
pick something up that somebody else says, and they're like, "Oh, I kind of like that way a little bit better." And just it all also depends on the instructors. I think they were all were good.
Chris.
I would get you a hand on a pump and then practice that way.
Chad says.
Where
Use
is
all, putting
Peerless?
bearings on.
Where are
shafts,
they at?
scissors, line
Peerless
rings.
is in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Indy. We got a big community in Indy. Go see the fine folks at SPP. It's fire pump heaven. I heard they got drones flying around the warehouse.
Yeah.
Chris says whatever. Their class is lame and they don't feed you as well. Oh, I think my favorite part is the banter. That's my favorite part about the industry is the banter. I love it so
Yeah.
much.
The small industry.
It is.
Yeah. Nobody leaves once you get started. Watch
You're
out, brain. If you
Yeah.
get hooked, you won't leave. Yeah. Yeah. Very, very few people that get in ever get out, and that's true. And that says a lot to the industry. It really does. Yeah.
And it's
true.
recession proof.
Recession.
Oh,
It is.
yes, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
recession.
I see a lot of people leaving other trades and joining this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
During
Yeah,
COVID, when it first happened and shut down in New York, I actually worked more.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
most hours I ever worked in my life was during that. I don't
Yeah.
like.
I
To,
think
I
I got
don't
probably
use that word.
yeah. I
Yeah,
think I got
neither do I, but
overtime.
everybody else was shut down. They're like,
Every
"Oh,
week.
let's go have beers." I was like, "Yeah, I'm working.
I'm working, man. We're working.
I'm sorry, I'm working."
I will say I took a pump class at SPP years ago and they had great sweet tea.
Great sweet tea. The Georgia
Yeah.
boy.
Is it better
Yeah,
to get
that's-
your readings right at the valve or at the hose monster? Or at the diffuser, you should have said, Daryl.
Flow Buster.
At the
Flow Buster.
diffuser,
man.
At the Flow Buster, right?
Yeah, no, you cannot take your readings at anything other than at the flow diverter. Yeah, you want to take it at the flow diverter. You don't want to put any gauges or anything there at the header. It doesn't mean anything unless the flow buster or the hose monster or whatever else you're using, a play pipe. Then you can. That's where it should be. But it has to be there due to the K factor that's designed into each one of the devices. And all of them work very well. The problem with putting the diverters directly on the header, you'll get a reading. It won't be as accurate as if it was at the end of a hose because the flow stream is going to diverge a little bit, and you won't get as good a reading. You'll still get a good reading, but it won't be as accurate as if you had it at the end of the device at the end of a hose. So, but
Great
yeah,
answer.
flow testing.
Hey, Will,
Flow testing is fun. That's my favorite thing to
Alright,
do.
Oh, my
do you still
favorite.
do you still sell the Flow Buster?
Oh yeah.
Still
I just
making?
shipped out
Well,
shipped
put
out
out
a
put out a
bunch of
plug,
them.
dog. Where do we find it?
Where do we get it?
Oh shoot, you can call me. I also have an American Backflow is one of my distributors, and then the Fire and Croker guys up in New York. They also
Yeah.
have I give them a good discount. I give both of those a discount, or you could buy it directly from me. You
That's
just
it.
send me an email and place an order. Yeah, I'm
I
ready.
love that
That's
we
it.
are getting away as an industry from the handmade flow equipment, the flow testing equipment. I am so glad that we are, because I think it was like what was it,
The
like a
handheld?
6-inch piece of pipe, and then it
Oh
would
yeah.
they would
Yeah, with
weld
welded
like a
outlets
three and
on
a
it.
half forward to a 2.5, and then they'll plasma cut a little square for your handheld pedo. Terrible.
Yeah. I remember when I first started, I was using some 30 pounders, and that was weighing my Mercedes. I did all my flow testing out of an old 300 SD Mercedes, 1985. And it looked like I had a couple people hiding in the trunk when I was,
that was the diesel model?
yeah, it was the diesel. Yeah. And I used that. I had close to 500,000 miles on it before I retired it and
Wow.
graduated
Dang.
to a
Dang.
regular
Retired
truck.
it last year,
You got
right?
your money worth out of that thing, boy.
Yeah,
That
I still
diesel.
have it. It's for sale if
You
anyone's
still have
interested.
it? Keep that
It's in the
thing.
driveway.
Let's
Yeah,
get a
it's in the
million out
driveway.
of it. Get a million. I want to see a million miles.
I know.
How many miles you got on your truck, Wills? I know you got a lot.
I got
Oh, wow.
430 on a
430.
Dodge Ram 3500. Yeah.
Chris, I love that. Chris is awesome. I
Well,
wonder
those are
why.
highway miles. Come to New York and you'll drive 30 miles a day for 4 hours.
Yeah. No thanks. Chris
fun.
says I wonder why no other fire pump OEMs don't come on the show. Oh wait, I know. It's because they suck.
Oh, he's starting up the shit. You're gonna stir the pot.
I love
I
it.
mean, they don't.
I
Not a
love the
single one
banter.
has called me or
Anyone's
texted me or
welcome to
nothing.
come on and let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Stir
it.
the pot.
I like how
Look at
I
this.
like how we can buy the Flow Buster right from Will. Just call
Yeah,
Will
you
up
can.
and buy it
Yeah.
right from him. You know.
Yeah, and I will even give everyone a discount. You call me up, and I'll give you a discount off the normal price.
Can we
I
call
really
it?
will.
Can we call a discount like dope and tape?
Hey, let's do it the dope and tape discount. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Oh, I love that.
okay.
Just
Yes.
say dope and tape discount, and I'll give
Then you
everyone that
know that
calls
we
in.
sent them. Who wants a Flow
That's
Buster?
it. That's it. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. Yeah, it's a really good diverter. I mean, I really like my product, and I'm going to be using it tomorrow morning. And
How heavy is it?
if they have the motor wired,
If they have the motor wired.
Yeah.
What's the weight on that thing, Will?
it's 7 pounds. Yeah.
7
pounds.
pounds, huh? You put it right in your
And
suitcase.
how much GP? What's the max GPM you can get out of 4?
You can flow a lot. I would say maybe 1,400 gallons a minute, but you really, in reality, you don't want to flow that much out of any device, whether it be a hose monster, flow buster, or the new Riptide. You want to keep your flows under, say, 850, 750, 850. Now, if they
Okay.
have a one in, say, maybe a 2.5-inch nozzle discharge, 750 is just kind of a normal amount, 750, 850. Now, have to remember that fire hoses, 2.5-inch fire hoses, they really can't flow that much water without eating all the friction loss in pressure. So you're going to be restricted by most of them if you stick with a 2.5-inch hose. So if you're going to use the flow buster or anything else that has a full bore 2.5, you can flow 50% more water using a 3-inch hose with 2.5-inch ends. And the fire department uses it as their suction hose. So you can get 3-inch diameter hose, and you want to keep the lengths short. You want to keep them down to 25 feet. But you can lose 50, 60 psi just through a 50-foot hose, depending on how much water you flow through.
So the
Yep.
rumor is for the Flow Monster that you can do 1,000 GPM per connection.
You can.
So,
what is it?
is that like false, or what do you think? Is this
No,
bad
no,
reading?
You can, but if your pump is 1,500 GPM at 50 psi, you're not going to flow that because if you look at your pitot tube pressure that you need at the end, you're going to need maybe 60 psi, 50, 60 psi.
Which is way too high.
It's
And
more
for the
than
record, keep your pitot reading as low of a PSI as possible.
Yeah, I had that's a good point. I had a customer call up one time, and he said I need another pressure gauge. I said why? He said it was, it only went up to 60 psi. I said, what did you do? He said, well, I had it up to 124 psi.
Holy crap!
I'm thinking, please don't do that.
So I was always told by, I'm not gonna say who, but like the rule of thumb is no more than 16 psi per connection.
No, you can go up higher. You can go up higher, but the amount of energy that you put out is huge, and so your risk is if something happens, then yeah, you can be in trouble. So the lower you get, the easier it is, and the less you have to worry about it. But then again, if the higher pressures, the more water you flow, the less hoses you have to carry to the job, and so that's where if you use a 3-inch hose and you flow 50% more water at lower pressures, that's a good thing. Like when I do the test tomorrow, I probably won't even go beyond 12 psi on the flow buster, and at the header it might be 50 psi, 50 or 60, maybe even upwards of 80 or 90. But at the end of the flow buster, it's I'm not going to read anything higher than 12 or 13 psi.
Daryl, go to flowbuster.com. Daryl.
Are you using what insert sizes are you using at that?
It's kind of funny. I have 2 inserts, 1 1/8 and 1 3/4. I used to recommend back in the day, FM inspectors didn't want to see anything other than 1 3/4, but they've kind of gone away. But I very seldom ever use the inserts anymore, just because I only use the inserts if I have a little baby pump, a 200 gallon a minute pump. The 1 1/8 inch, the 1 1/8 inch insert is good from 100 to 300 gallons a minute. The 1 3/4 I only use, say for a 400 GPM fire pump that'll take out to 600 gallons a minute. So from 500 GPM and up, I only say for a 500 GPM fire pump, I only need 1 hose, and it's one with a full bore 2.5. Remember, all you have to go out is 750. So I can do that with just 1 hose. That means I only carry 1 hose. I don't have to roll up one of those hoses. And
you got to get the fire hose roller, the little thing.
I came up with one. It didn't work too well. And
one from England.
What is it? It goes on a drill, right? Does it go on
I
a
didn't
drill?
get the one with the drill. I don't remember what it was, but I got it from England, and it's because we were testing a couple big pumps with AHJ wanted to see 20 hose monsters at 1 1/8. So 5,000 GPM pump. So
my
we
goodness.
exceeded everything with 1 1/8.
20 hose monsters?
Yeah, 20 hose monsters.
They
built a whole big. They used jersey barriers to build a pond and over manholes. Went right into it. Yeah,
That's
first
crazy.
time we blew a 16-inch line.
Mike says no lower than 10, no more than 35.
All right, so I'll start lower than 10, but you have to remember that when he says 10-35, that's a good rule of thumb, and make sure that your gauge pressure, so your maximum pressure is you're not using a 0 to 300 gauge if you're down there that low. You want to match your gauge to your pressures. So I use 0 to 30 psi on my gauges, And since I do a lot of internal inspections and a lot of, analysis on what went wrong with the pump, I'll use a gauge that's a quarter percent accuracy, and that's quarter percent accuracy down to about 1 or 2 psi. So if you can get a good accurate reading, you can go lower than 10.
I actually got my gauges calibrated to 0.1 psi.
Ooh, that's sweet. That's good.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. Every year, get them all calibrated 0.1 psi.
How
just
much
for
does the
that
gauge calibration cost? We were talking about this.
Uh,
Yeah,
I get a deal
yeah.
because I do it all the time with all my equipment, but it's anywhere from 150 to 250 bucks a gauge
Per
a
gauge,
year.
huh?
Annually.
Now
Yeah.
you can buy one for like 250. So a lot of times I'll just buy a new one at the end of the year and
Yeah.
just get away from that. I used to have someone within 4 miles of my house, and I'd go down there and we'd calibrate all my gauges, and it was so sweet. And yeah, my price is really really low, but now I just it's out of Tennessee is where I get my gauges,
Mhm.
and so I just buy new gauges. It's a lot easier to do it that way. Yeah.
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 Now, does anyone know how to do a? You're supposed to calibrate those flow meters 1 year out of 3.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You're
I'm
supposed
calibrating.
to.
Yeah,
Aren't
no,
you
I'm.
supposed to ship back the whole flow meter back to GVI, right?
Oh my
Um,
The
gosh.
Flow
gauge?
meter.
Have
well,
you ever heard of anybody doing that? Like a single
Yes, I
person?
know a couple people who've done that.
Supposed to.
Yep.
Well, you know what I've come up with is a way to where you just do it in place. And you just put your calibrated gauge, especially if you have a 0.1% test gauge. You can take that 0.1% test gauge and calibrate those meters all day long without even taking them out.
Yeah.
And it's accurate. You have to know what the K factor is on the flow meter, but most of the flow meter people, you can generally trick them into giving you their K factor for that particular meter. That way, you never have to go them out, and you're using a calibrated gauge. You are the person that calibrates that meter.
Calibrated it.
Never
So
have
like
to take them out. No.
my issue with that when I was doing that, they wanted me to put calibration stickers on it. So insurance and liability reasons, I didn't.
Yeah.
So I always send them out now just as a liability thing if they
Yeah.
want that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just me personally.
Yo,
Yeah.
what up,
Okay,
Dave?
it's a lot easier. They calibrate it. It's a third party.
Yeah. Mhm.
No one
Now,
can
I think.
say I fudged it with an AHJ or
Yeah,
something to that regard.
yeah, now, in your area, are you in New York City?
Yeah, I'm based out of New York City, but I go everywhere.
Okay, so
So
when did they get rid of those manual wound rotor controllers, which were the manual controllers that you
so
mentioned?
2014 building code was the last time it got um
Did they?
last time it needed to be in
They're still
there, I
pretty
Are,
believe.
recent.
They're still present.
yeah. All right. Now,
So
is
yeah.
everyone required to upgrade, or is it a grandfather clause in?
Unless they start adding, you know what I mean? It depends on when the building was built. So some buildings, yes, and then if they start modifying a certain number, they have to start upgrading and meeting their pressures and everything else. A lot
Yeah.
of the times, they're super expensive pumps, controllers, and motors. I mean, Fire Troll's the only one and that does it well on the
Yeah.
controller wise, in my opinion.
So in
And
2014, they changed the code to say, let's get away from a man having to push a button to fight a fire.
yeah,
With,
well, they still had tanks and some other pumps
yeah.
in the room. They had an
Seems like
automatic
they
pump in
waited an
the
awful long
basement
time for
and
that
then
one.
one on the roof for coming
2014,
down.
jeez.
My
It was
God.
it was the express all the way up to the roof that they had it all up there. So you still
Imagine
had automatic fire pumps, but this was a manual express.
you're the maintenance guy, and in the owner's training, you're like, all right, bud, if the place catches on fire, you got to go to the fire pump room and run this thing. You got to shift it, all right? Don't
That's
Yeah,
correct.
don't
yeah,
leave.
that's what. Yep.
Don't
So
leave.
generally, people operated as probably myself, building engineers, and the fire department. But the fire department uses their own equipment now. You know what I
Right.
mean? So they don't even do it. It's really just a maintenance thing.
Yeah.
I like it. They're a nice piece of equipment, but
Yeah.
there's some high pressures on them. I had one blow on me before. You know what I mean? It was scary.
Yeah.
Almost killed me and my partner.
Well,
So
the history on that. I remember back in the 70s. back before most of you guys were born.
I wasn't a thought at that point.
I
Yeah.
don't think any of us were born then.
No, that was the firemen fought fires, and if they had a fire on the 40th floor, that guy in the bottom floor would say, "Okay, Charlie, what floor are you at?" "I'm in the 40th floor." And he'd look on a chart and say, "Oh, that's a number 3." And he'd dial up a number 3, and he says, "Okay, you ready for the water?" "Yeah, send it on up." And so then they'd start the button and flip the number to number 3, and they'd pump it just enough pressure to get up to where the firemen were fighting the fire.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I thought for sure. I'm so glad. It's the first I've heard that they finally incorporated automatic systems, because if you think about what happened in 2001 with the manual wound rotor controller system, anyone thought about that?
No,
Yep.
I don't know much about it.
They're not fun.
Well,
they're fun, but they're
Brian,
dangerous.
what happened in 2001
It was 9/11.
Yeah.
in New York?
Yep.
Yeah, 9/11. Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
if you
they
think
cut
about it,
but
if I'm not mistaken,
they had pumps in the building. The manual wasn't the only source. Like, so generally there's a manual and an automatic pump right
Yeah.
next to it, and that covers a certain percentage, and then they have tanks throughout as well with your water source. So it wasn't only dedicated for
No,
fire
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think the Twin Towers, they only had they had an automatic system in that covered the lower floors because they had that other bomb attack earlier. So I think the
90s.
basement and the garages were all automatic. But if I'm not mistaken, I think that all the other stuff, they had 3 pump rooms that they had to coordinate to get water up there on any of the higher floors. Check and see if you have any contacts to see if that's true.
I
I would
have the
like,
drawings.
yeah, for
You got the old drawings?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a
I'd love
fire
to
trawl
see those.
controller. I think they had fire trawl controllers in there.
Yep.
I remember when it happened, I called up the fire trawl and I said, "What happened?" I said, "I didn't see any white smoke coming out. It doesn't look like anyone started anything." And he said, "Yeah, I think you're right." So, but it never came out in the report. So
Mm,
No,
whatever it was.
also the fire alarm there was done right
I'm
as
going
well,
down a
too.
rabbit hole after this show right now. You don't even
Yeah.
know.
Do some research.
I'm Google's open. Oh, so we got one comment that says, on your website, when you click the place an order tab, it pulls up an error. But to place
Yeah.
an order, you're just going to email or call. He already said that.
Call me. Yeah, call me.
What's your number, Wills?
All right, 678-687-1832.
Boom. Is that
Call
the
for
same?
that. Yeah, 678 same 687-1832, and you call and just ask for the dope and tape discount, right?
There you go, baby.
You're the man. Is that the same phone number you gave out last time on the show?
Yes.
Savage.
number.
You're the only person that's ever done that 2 times now.
Call me.
Call me.
Why,
luck, man.
is that a bad thing,
Be
or is that a
afraid.
good
No,
thing?
no.
No,
I mean,
it's great.
you might
They'll
get like
call
100.
you.
Might get 100 messages tomorrow. I mean, I don't know. Daryl might send you some
All right.
selfies or something.
I got hundreds in stock. Hundreds in stock. I'm ready to go.
Hundreds in stock. You see that?
Mm.
Why can't we just get a gauge that is universal to move from flow meter to flow meter as a pump tech? It could be done. Mike says, "Wow, I send out so many flow meters." Huh.
Different
And,
flow rates. You know?
Say
So
that.
the device have
Say that
to
again, Bobby.
Say that again. Why can't we just get a gauge that is universal to move from flow meter to flow meter as a pump tech? It could be
Let
done.
me put this as an example. Like, I don't know if y'all are aware, but when you're reading that, what comes to my mind, like the picture of my mind, is like a standpipe testing equipment. So Flow Monster has one, Pollard Water has one, and where you would hook it up and then to each standpipe, each PRV, and you would adjust it, and you would open up, let's say, a test header or internally a opening where, let's say, for example, how would that actually even freaking work, man? Because the flow meter is in the middle of the loop, so you would have to continue that loop. So I mean, it's connected, Jesus, filled with freaking water, but it's connected with couplings, I mean, I guess what he's thinking, I'm kind of thinking this through while I'm talking, but you would take off the two, yeah, no, you would take off the two couplings and then you would put in your calibrated flow meter, and then attached it with the couplings. Like, why isn't that existent? I think that's what I have pictured. So you have your own in your truck in your case, and you swap it out with each pump, and then you can use that flow meter every 2 out of the 3 years.
Ian had a good point. All pumps are different. You know what I mean? You can't. It'd be hard to do that with like a 200 GPM flow meter as opposed to like a 4,000 GPM flow meter.
No way to keep it
Hard.
universal.
Well, think about the sizing too. Like the bigger the pump and the more flow, your pipe sizing is going to be bigger.
That is true. 4, 6, 8.
I'm trying to remember the flow meter that we use I'm familiar with.
You might be able to get something with like have a set of calibrated gauges and hope for, whatever's common in your area. If you have your set or you carry it, like Will said before, you can use your own calibrated gauge and calibrate it each time on that one, and then you at least have your calibrated, it's good and matching, and just have a super accurate calibrated gauge and do it that way. But again, you're doing the calibration. So and that's something more time putting into the job as well. You know what I mean?
Now, is he talking about when he says flow meter? Is that the flow meter for the fire pump in a loop?
Yeah,
I
believe
believe
it's
so. That's what
100%.
I'm imagining.
Yeah.
Well, there's only about 4 sizes. They go up with pipe size. 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch, and there's only like four different sizes. But the way that a Venturi, most of these are Venturi meters, and the way it works is that you restrict the water flow and you read the pressure difference from before it's restricted to at the restriction, and then you calibrate that when you're when you're testing it with FM Global, and they give you a K factor or a conversion factor. Then the meter is actually has a little piston in it with a spring, and it goes back and forth, and a magnet picks up the needle. So then that just kind of moves it around. So for an accurate zone from say 200 gallons a minute all the way up to 1,000, you would have to have different amounts of restriction. You don't want to restrict the water too much. If you had a universal one, it wouldn't be accurate in certain of the flow ranges. I know that the Flow Buster, with the inserts, it's the same thing. You have 3 different inserts, and the little baby insert is good for 100 to 300. It's very accurate, and then from 200 to 700 or 800 for the 1 3/4, and then from 500 on up. I can get readings with a very accurate flow meter, and it's fairly accurate, but it's not FM approved under a certain range. So when you're up with factory mutual, then you will calibrate your meter in a certain area, and beyond it, then it's just not that accurate. You can get a good reading, but it's still a little bit non-accurate, and so you want to stay within the range that the FM Global has it.
So it sounds expensive and
Is
like
it deer in headlights?
yeah, because I mean, like, okay, so you essentially you would need to buy 4 different sizes, and then it wouldn't be
Yeah.
calibrated to that pump. So yeah, that
You
doesn't
would
work.
have to. You can
You know,
get
if
4 different. Like so, I would get your most common one for your area and get the 4 different sizes if you wanted to carry around that one for it. You know what I mean? But then, how much do you carry in your truck before you're bouncing around? Me personally, I'm a kilometer guy.
yeah.
And how much do these things
Oh,
cost?
I'm not
These
a
like
fan, but-
testing
Well,
equipment.
I
I mean,
I
you
had
buy
a
it once.
yeah, I had a truck that I put
I just had a
six
I just
lines.
had a lag spike. I think the live stopped. It looks like it's frozen. I mean, we're still here, but
Dang,
Uh-oh.
let me see.
is
What's
it your internet?
Well, how late do you go?
No, I mean we
Well,
usually
it's at 10 o'clock.
we usually shut it off at 10, but I like to say goodbye. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It looks frozen on my end. If you guys pull up YouTube, does it look frozen right now?
No,
Let's
I'm
see
actually on YouTube now, and
Let's
it's looking
find out.
Oh.
fine. Like everybody's moving.
Refresh.
Uh,
I think we're frozen. Well, maybe if we're not,
Yeah.
yeah, we're frozen. Twitch is frozen. Yeah, I'm getting comments. It's frozen.
And go to YouTube, guys.
Frozen.
Unfreeze it.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I'd have to start a new live.
Well, we need